For most people, whether the CEO of Lockheed Martin is a trans black woman does not matter. So masks are woke.
No, they can be. If the woke mentality.
Okay, little bit of a spoiler here now that it's after the fact. I was supposed to be on the Piers Morgan Jubilee. Flight cancellations from the government shutdown prohibited that, so thanks a lot, Trump and MAGA. We're gonna hop in though to a couple clips I saw circulating online and, debate a couple of his positions just for the fun of it. So leave us a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and let's just get right to it.
For most people, whether the CEO of Lockheed Martin is a trans black woman does not matter. What matters for most people is whether they have a job that actually is able to pay the rent,
I would say,
that they can have a hope of owning a home, that they can marry who they like to. That stuff matters.
It only matters if the black trans leader of a company has only got that job because they're black and trans and not on ability. Because then you move into a country and society which prides itself on mediocrity over meritocracy.
The problem with this, in reality, is it's just a convenient excuse for racism, and nothing proves that more than the DEI warriors having nothing to say about merit when it comes to Donald Trump's historically undiverse cabinet, of which we've seen corruption and incompetence spilling out of, right? What this gives way to in practice is black people having their merit or qualifications questioned just for being black, just for being a person of color in power. We saw this for Kamala Harris as vice president, where she was called a DEI pick despite objectively being more qualified than 90% of prior VP choices. She worked at every level of government. The Baltimore mayor was called this after that bridge collapse, despite literally being democratically elected. And I mean, the list is endless. And who we never see it for are white people, despite white women being the largest benefactor of DEI, yet nobody in MAGA has ever looked at a single white CEO and gone, does this person only have their position because he's white? We saw clips of Charlie Kirk saying, if I see a black pilot, I get nervous. We didn't see one clip of anyone in MAGA ever saying they get nervous or question the merit of a white person. Why? Because again, this is just an avenue to solely and specifically question black people in power. Hence why Pete Hegseth hasn't been called out, Tom Homan hasn't been called out, no, the rest of Trump's incompetent cabinet that's unqualified, frankly, at best. But black people are.
You're talking to me about why you want people to be more emotional. I'm telling you, I don't think that's necessarily
I want them to express
a
it
good
in
thing.
positive manners, like go to therapy, like how I told you.
Yeah, but I think we're over-therapied. Everyone I know over here goes to therapy.
You haven't gone to therapy at all. How are you over-therapy?
Why don't you come and talk to me if you want to talk to somebody? I'll soon sort you out.
Wait, I can talk to my therapist and we can actually engage in positive reconstruction of how I address things. Yes, actually, it's been very helpful for my mental health and my emotional health to be able to talk them through, to be able to, what can I do to make myself feel better in these circumstances?
Toxic masculinity is actually what I was ready to cook Piers Morgan on the most. Might be a surprise to people who watch me talk almost solely about politics, but it's because masculinity, it's not about masculinity being toxic, which is what Piers and others often confuse this as, but it's the expectations around masculinity being toxic for men and then leading to behaviors that can harm them and those around them. One of those is exactly what is being expressed here, this sort of emotional suppression, the idea that men don't need therapy, they should be tough, not emotional, and pull yourself up by the bootstraps. You see this depicted in different ways by those on the right. This is actually linked to real harm in men. There's peer-reviewed, replicated literature on this. Psychologically, it's why men self-harm at higher rates, because emotions work like a faucet filling up a cup, right? No matter how hard you try to keep it all inside, all in that little cup, eventually it will spill over. And the more there is before you empty that cup out, the bigger a mess it will make, the harder that mess will be to clean up. This is why emotional regulation is a key skill. And therapy is a massive help for acquiring that. But when men are told that therapy is weak and that crying makes them weak, well, they're less likely to do that. They're less likely to seek these outlets than women are. Thus, they're more likely to self-harm.
So masks are woke.
No, they can be. The woke mentality, I'll explain why. When a government says that if you're seen without a mask during a pandemic, you can be fined or punished.
Piers, you're way too smart to believe this.
Wait a minute. I'm giving you the argument, which I ended up accepting, right? Which is in a fast-moving pandemic, when the scientific advice changes so rapidly, I fell victim to this myself. I was very censorious of people. But you can't deny that the state had a mindset of you will conform or we will punish you. And it turned out they were making people...
That's simply not true.
It is true.
You may have felt uncomfortable being unmasked in public because people would say, hey, be courteous of other people.
I didn't.
Okay, first off, the government absolutely has a responsibility to step in and ensure public health. if we were only to pick 2 responsibilities for the federal government, that is one of the 2 I would pick. These people take that for granted. Like, if the government let people walk around and do whatever they wanted without regard for public health, kids would still be dying from smallpox and measles. Like, in a normal occurrence, children would just be regularly dying from illness. Something, again, the right takes for granted. And the latter of which, measles, is making a comeback thanks to MAGA anti-vax lunatics. So why do you guys, there's so much of this I want to question, right? Why do you guys think people in hospitals wear masks? It's not because, well, that stops disease, and that was never the point of masks during COVID, but they obviously help in the slowing the transmission of a virus that can be transmitted airborne, right? Just think of that logically, why that might be so, right? And it's so clear logically without having to understand anything, right? We were dealing with a once-in-a-lifetime pandemic, to put this in perspective, with limited options, right? We did not have a vaccine ready for this. Anything that helps in that situation, even if only a minute %, should be offered. That's why we saw things like social distancing. That's why we saw things like a quarantine. That's why we saw things like the mask. Even when those have minimal effects, they're better than just letting people die because of freedom, brother, and wokeness sucks. Like, you have to love how the bigoted asshat capitalists are all for like personal businesses having freedoms to make whatever decision they want when it comes to like rejecting gay people's service. But the second that extends to like, hey man, you gotta wear a mask to help grandma when she comes into the business not catch a disease from you, right? Well, no, these people, they're legends, right? They're absolute legends. They're demons. They can't be told what to do. They gotta go into Walmart without a mask. Their rights cannot be infringed upon. Like, they're truly the ultimate snowflakes.